A very good evening to all of you joining us today on yet another edition of the Spotlight. Now to those of you who represent the country, it's not easy. The journey is difficult, but the view is amazing. Today we have one such individual who had quite a bit of a journey to get to the top and represented our country, Sri Lanka, and brought glory and honor to our country. Allow me to welcome Ransilu Jayathilake, Asian record holder and a wonderful, wonderful person joining us today. He has undergone many challenges in bringing glory to our country, so we are here to talk about all things good, the journey, the good, bad and the ugly of everything about weightlifting. So thank you for joining us today.
Hi.
So as far as I know, you took part in the Arnold's Classic World Championship, and there's a bit of a story there. From what I heard, you didn't have much time to rest.
Yeah.
You landed, I think about 2-3 hours later, you headed straight into the competition. Let's talk about that experience.
Well, at the beginning I have to tell you that everything about the powerlifting is a bit of a story.
Yeah.
From the beginning, because it was not much of a famous sport at the start. So now there are a lot of powerlifters. We have like 400 powerlifting all around Sri Lanka. So starting was really hard, but still we faces all the difficulties. So I got invited to Arnold Classic in November. So this is
November last year, 2023.
November last year, 2023. So what happened was I got the invitation and I informed my federation and they being informed as well. But my documentation was not done properly. So I had to wait till the last moment to get my visas. So again, I had to apply for the priority visas to get the ministry approval. I got my ministry approval on Wednesday. So I applied for visas on a Thursday and I was waiting for my visas for whole 1 week. Yeah. Then I had to reapply for the priority visas, which costed me around £500. It's almost around 200,000 in Sri Lankan money. So on Monday, I got a message saying that your visa might get late. So there's no chance of me going to there. So I had to thank Honorable Mr. Fernando. So he spoke to me and said that your visas are done, but there's no way that we can bring it down because visas being stamped in India. So we don't get the Sri Lankan embassy stamp visas here. So I said if I get the visas by next week, the time is gone. I had to compete on Saturday. So somehow we did these arrangements and got the visas within 2 days. So I got the visas on Thursday. I flew on Friday evening, and I landed there on Saturday morning. That's around 7 o'clock. I had a transit in Doha. Then it was quite a 23 hours journey. Soon as I land, I took Uber and rushed to the event. And the place is like 10 times bigger than Sugadasa Stadium. It's a massive center. That's the NEC, so National Exhibition Center of Birmingham. So once I went there, they didn't let me go in because I have not done the accreditations. So I was trying to go in from the athletes arena, so they stopped me saying that you can't go in. So again, I had to walk with my luggages for like good 1 kilometer. So it's a massive place. So I get my accreditations done. Came back to the arena and did my weighing and got ready, and I just had a nap of 30 minutes. So that's the story. Like I didn't have my meals because I was afraid that if I eat something, I will feel dizzy or something. Yeah. So I didn't eat anything. So that's the story. I competed at 11 o'clock, finished around 4 o'clock.
Now, ideally, if you were going to compete, if you had a very easygoing process, how long would you have to rest if it was not this rushed? How would it normally be?
This is a professional sport. Like all the athletes who competed with me from the other countries, like they were there for like probably 1 month to get climatized.
You're joking.
And last time I took part in the Asian Championships, the Japanese team was there for like good 3 months to get climatized. Especially we being in Sri Lanka on such a heaty place and going and competing on somewhere very cold, it's going to be a tough job. Like especially it can be, I can say it easily, but handling the air pressure in the flight and everything's going to be really tough, and meals, and you don't get the sleep, and the stress is there. So competition stress and arranging the things, it's going to be, it was a very tough job.
So basically from the airport straight into the competition?
Straight to the competition because I didn't have enough time, like no time at all. And I was very worried that if a flight get delayed, all the money that I spend, all the hard work, like it's going.
Money that you spent?
Yes, let me say probably 70-80% of it. And especially I don't have a sponsor to get monthly. I don't have any monthly sponsors. These equipment are very expensive. Food is expensive, especially the main source of protein. Eggs are really expensive and it's really hard to find these days. And basically Sri Lankan diet is based on a carbohydrate diet, but as athletes, strength athletes, we need a lot of proteins. So getting proteins is very expensive in Sri Lanka on a raw, or is it as a supplement, it's very expensive. So coming back to the point, probably at least if I had 2 days of rest, I know that we never get a chance to go and practice for 1 month. So if I go there a bit early, probably I could have done better. Probably at least I could have challenged for the silver medal, because my maximum deadlift was 327, which I did in the training. So if I hit 330, I had a chance to win the silver or the gold.
At this point, now you would have been completely stressed, anxiety would have kicked in, competition pressure, you're not allowed to go into the arena, a lot of things working in your mind. At that point, were you wanting to win, or were you thinking, let me at least participate in this? Was your goal to somehow get something?
No, I don't go with that attitude. When I go for the, like my father always say, you have to be like a soldier.
Right.
So he
went straight to win.
Yeah, I started there. I started training at the age of 7. So he was like, you have to lift at any time, at any given time, at any given circumstance. So that was on my mind. So I always, when I was in the flight, it was kicking on my mind, because this is not the first time actually I participated alone. 2000. Luckily, this social media is on now, but there were many other championships that I won. At the age of 17, I had to go for the Commonwealth Youth Games in Australia. So there was a contingent of 107 athletes. Only I got the visas, because I have traveled there before, and all the other visas got rejected. So at the last moment, I had to go there. There was no manager, coach, and it was Commonwealth Games. So there were like 22 disciplines: swimming, badminton, basketball, everything was there. But I went there, I was all alone. But luckily at that time I went like 3 or 4 days before.
Right.
So I had that experience. But coming to this, the stress, that the flying stress and everything was there. But I always knew that, because that preparation was really good. From November, I have skipped all the Christmas, New Year, as I always say. I skipped family trips, and my preparation was really good. And my body condition was really good, so I went to give it all out. So that's why sometimes I spend a lot of money from my own budget. So preparation was really good, so I was relying on my preparation. So I knew that I could, like, at minimum I could get into top 5, but I gave it out. My 317 lost my second. We get 3 attempts, so I started with 310. That's to be on the board. Then 317 was a bit of a struggle, and 3 for 3, I knew that if I pull 322, because the other guy who fought with me did 320. So my challenge was 322. So I knew if I pull this, next guy will not do it, and I definitely like it, because British guy put 325. So I did it, and there was a big hype when I was going for the last lift. There was a massive cheer. It was a big sports expo. There were like 10,000 people around, and everyone, all the eyes on me, all the cameras were focused to me. So I knew that it's now or never.
But when you were performing, or rather competing in proper terminology, did you have anyone to run to for advice, or you were just alone?
I was all alone. Like, there was no one. Like, all these athletes, they had 5, 6. We have 3 disciplines. One is squat, bench, and deadlifts. So all these athletes, most of them, they are top athletes. They invite the top athletes of the world. So they had for all 3 disciplines, they have 3 coaches, and the main coach, and a dietitian, nutritionist. Everyone was there. Like, soon after one event, they just lay down the floor. The masseur comes, massage them, while I was trying to put my kit on, looking for someone to put my sip on. And so that was it. I have to say, when I go to World Championships, most of them, they don't take the diet from the hotel. So we go there, we go to the normal buffet and take the. So they bring a whole crew of chefs, and they make the food for them, especially the Polish team. They never eat from the hotel. So they always bring their chefs. So that's how professional sport is. And we are here the same routine and trying to go and compete on the same level.
So at that point when you were looking for help, or at that point of time, what was running through your mind? When you're in a stadium packed full of 10,000 people, you're representing your mother country.
Right.
What was going on in your head?
Well, there are 2 sides. One is like, you can either go down thinking, I don't have this, I don't have people to go, but on a corner of your mind, you have a fight inside. You know, okay, can have everything on, but still, I'm going to show you who am I. So that comes up to your mind, because I train at the late night, and normally I train around 12:31 in the morning. Like, I do my work, and I come to the gym around 7:38, run some classes, and start training around 9 o'clock. So that hours that I spent all alone in the gym, that made me a good fighter. So I knew that whatever it is, I had to do this, because when you go to the bar, it's only you and me. Like, it's the bar and the me. So there are no excuses. The bar is, it's a tough thing that it's not going to ask you, did you have enough meals? Did you have anyone to help you? It's not going to, did you have enough sleep? No, no. It's all about the bar and the me. So no excuses under the bar. That's my quote as well.
Definitely. Now, just to add in, you when you started weightlifting, this was back in the early 2000s.
Probably 90s.
90s. But you also started off by wanting to play rugby.
Yeah.
So from rugby to weightlifting, that transition, what was the driving force to doing that?
Well, I studied at Kingswood College, Kandy, so that's one of the leading rugby playing school. And Kandy is very famous for rugby, and I was always going through, and my dad was always involved with rugby teams, and he was working as a rugby coach as well. So that pushed me over there for rugby, and I badly wanted to play rugby and went for practices. And at a point, I broke my finger. So I was competing weightlifting and rugby both. So at a point, I broke my finger and I couldn't grip the bar properly. So my dad was like pushing me, now you know that you can't do the both sports together. These two different ends, two different fitness levels. So you have to either pick one. And it was my father's dream for me to be a weightlifter. And my father's friends are always saying that even before you were born, your father was telling that you're going to be a champion. So be focused on that. So I had to let go of my rugby dream and do weightlifting.
Any regrets?
No regrets at all. But still, I'm involved with rugby as well, because I work as a rugby fitness trainer, and still I love that game.
So now, back when you started, and now you started back in the 90s, as you just mentioned, now we're in 2024. What has changed in the powerlifting arena in Sri Lanka?
No change at all. It's the same old Sri Lanka. But only thing is, thanks to me and few other people, we have taken it to a different level of the international stage. We have a good reputation, especially when you say Sri Lanka powerlifting. They know that we are at a certain level. If they even check the starting list, if a Sri Lankan at least it is there, they always double check that, okay, this guy is going to be tough. And especially to mention, our women's team is really good. Like, they have achieved Commonwealth medals, Asia Pacific medals, Asian medals, and we have much potential in female powerlifting. So I see a big I can see a big talent in Sri Lankan women that who does powerlifting more than the men. So I think if we focus on these, we will definitely end up with the Olympic medal by 2028.
Is there a reason as to why you feel and why you think and why you see that there is more of a demand for the female population coming up in the powerlifting world?
Well,
Any particular reason? Because there's this norm that you see, right? That they think, oh, it's only usually the gentlemen who head into the field. But it's nice to see that Sri Lanka has talent for females. But what is the driving force to this?
Well, when I was starting weightlifting, there were so myths. Like, there were so many myths were going on, like, you won't get taller, and my dad and me had to go through all that. Even same for the female community in powerlifting as well. So they were going to say, you're going to look like a man, don't lift heavy. Luckily, these girls took this challenge. All this, like, we used to see that they were doing only cardio exercises, coming to the gym. So I was coming from era that my dad has a gym in Kandy from 1996, where I knew my few aunties were coming to the gym with a sari and thick shoes on, and they were doing the cycle and go. So from that fitness culture to this fitness culture, there's a big change. So, and now I see that everyone wants to lift heavy. They want to prove that they are better than other people. Then they want to prove that they are equal to all the men. And so I think that has driven Sri Lankan women's powerlifting up to some, like, we have won a Commonwealth medal in powerlifting. Like, there was no zero media coverage for them. I think media has to do a better job than that, bringing up all these people for the sport.
Definitely, we're hoping for the best in terms of that. So what are your days of training like before a serious competition? If you're heading into the international arena, how would your ideal or your average day start like?
Well, I'm not going to say that I'm a professional athlete, because I do a job, because professional athletes are like, they get paid for that. They don't do any other thing than lifting. So they just focus on their training and the sport, but I can't do that. So I have my bills to pay, I have to run my family. So I had to, 5 o'clock in the morning, I had to go for the rugby practices, and I come and do my trainings after that. Then again, I had to go for my work and all the practices, and then I come back to the gym around 7, 8 in the night. So it keeps.
So this is not a full-time thing.
The effort I put is full-time, but
Full-time.
the rest of the time that normally they say after do heavy deadlifts, you have to rest for 24 hours, put your legs on, get a massage and go to the pool. Unfortunately, I can't do that because I have to go for my work.
So doesn't that impact your performance?
Definitely, I have a problem with my recovery. Definitely, and it's going to be high prone of injuries as well. The risk is there. So I really neglect my recovery routine, to be honest. So, but the problem is the financial status.
Right. Now, it's not just about being physically fit. It's a mental game as well. How does your psychological aspect come into play?
Well, I'll say it's 90% it's the mind. So I see a lot of strong athletes, they come to powerlifting, but when they take the weight to their, like they have the strength, physical strength, but their mindset is not there. They're scared, so you can't do like that. So like you can see that I'll be going to the lift and doing one lift, but in my imagination I might be doing it like 1,000 million times, like everything, like except for my professional life, everything is all about powerlifting. So in my car I have always written my targets. Even while driving I was checking that, so always it goes to my brain, okay, you have to rest, you have to drink water. And even in my bedroom, soon after I get up, my targets are written on the wall. And from the childhood it's like that. Even in my washroom, I have put up a poster saying that I'm a champion or whatever the quotes that I like, and it's there. So I'm always in the sport, but only thing is like with my professional life, I can't be there with physically 100%, but in mindset, I'm always there. But and emotions plays a big role in this game. So when you go to a competition, you know that you are coming from a country where most of the mothers have to leave their kids and go abroad for the work, and probably someone is waiting to do their operations they are waiting for money. So I don't like to play that money going abroad, and I can, as a kid somewhere down there, can live another 5-6 months with the money that I'm spending. So it comes with a great emotion, and that's why I always carry my flag with me. So when I carry my flag and when I'm wearing the Sri Lanka t-shirt, I'm representing 22 million Sri Lankans. So there's no way that I can go down.
Definitely. And let's talk about qualifications. Is it true that to train you need to be also practically and also theoretically qualified as well? Or do you believe it's just being more physically present in the game? Are there things where you have to study about the body, analyze situations? How does it work?
Well, I think it's a mix of things. Like most of the Sri Lankan coaches are more experience-based coaches. So they go on tours, they find things, new things, but most of the time they don't have a philosophy. So they just see the current days, everyone goes to YouTube, next day they are implementing on their student, or if it's a fitness trainer, they're implementing it on the thing. But especially if you take the human body, there are energy systems, then there are human physiology and the anatomy. So you need to learn these basics. I did my degree in sports science. So that gives me a big advantage in the sport. So when I mess up something, I know what's going wrong.
Right.
So I know how to fix it. So I have a knowledge about the muscles, I have knowledge about the nutrition. That's used. But there are not much of qualified coaches in Sri Lanka, but experience-wise, they are really good and they are very creative. That's the main reason, because sometimes we don't get most of the equipment in Sri Lanka. So I have seen in all these athletic coaches and all, when they don't have a hurdle, somehow they make a hurdle with all the things that they have. So we can't blame them, because to be honest, in Sri Lanka, there are no qualified powerlifting coaches. I train some people, but I don't have level 1 in powerlifting. To go there and do a level 1 coach, it will cost you around 1 million.
Do we have the necessary institutions to carry it out?
Not in Sri Lanka. We don't have, like, if you want, like we say, it's rugby. So if you want to get IRB qualified level 1 coach, they conduct. But in Sri Lanka, they don't have. So in Spain, there's a place called La Manga. So if someone wants to get qualified, that's the only place that you can get from powerlifting. I have to go there. So it's going to easily cost you 1 million. And I think we need those coaches, because powerlifting is only based in Colombo, Kandy, and few other places. So this has to go out of Colombo, go out of Kandy, and go to the other places as well. I think we can have more talent in places in Polonnaru, Anuradhapura, even like weightlifting, the key lifters are from Polonnaru. So if this goes, I'm sure that there are people who will be more talented than me. But that I'm here because of my family and I have background, and I held up to this because I have support and I have a big willpower. But most of the people, they can't rely on that, because I know a guy from Monragra. So when he gets selected for the tour, first day he came to Colombo to fill up the visa forms. Next day he came to fill up the applications of the ministry. Third day he was calling me, sorry, I won't be able to come. I don't have money to come in the bus. So that's the situation in Sri Lanka.
What can we do to change this? Make it
Well,
a better place for the powerlifting athletes.
Well, I think there's a focus on few sports, like, because Sri Lanka sports rely on 2 or 3 sports. Everyone, I don't want to mention any names of the games, but still, even they mess up a thing, it was always in media, the ministry attention goes to them. But there are people who suffers more than that, who can bring honor to Sri Lanka, who can bring medals. But so that equality is not there for the attention of the sports. So I think at least if they are giving 70% attention, we have to get at least 30% of attention for the other sport. But everything rests on 2-3 sports. And even like when you try to find sponsors for these sports, they say they go for the big names. They don't want to sponsor any kid like who's coming up in the sport. But I think that's the time that they need the support, not that after you go, then you call them and take a picture with a garland and post it. That's not the...
There's no point.
There's no point at all. Even for me, going there was the toughest part. Even come here, I really didn't want. I didn't want to take any pictures, so I came up live on my Facebook page. I said, any politicians, please don't come to the... Because I was getting messages, come to this stage, we're going to help you at all. But I said, any politicians, please don't come to the airport. I'm not going to be with you all or post any pictures. As I said, they didn't come anyway. So I think the equality attention should be there.
All right, welcome back to the show. We are in conversation with Ransilu Jayathilake this Monday evening. So just to continue and add on to what we were talking to just before the break regarding qualifications. Let's say if you are a weightlifter and you want to get qualified, it's not available in Sri Lanka. We have to head out.
Yes, definitely.
So is there any possibility of bringing this into our country? Is the process quite difficult? What is stopping us?
Well, to be honest, when I was studying, I think Sri Lanka is lacking of research and development side in Sri Lanka. Like, whoever comes, they say that, okay, I'm going to develop the sport. What they do is they make a huge track, or they're going to renovate the stadium. So that is not the development. Development is bringing uplift in the athletes' lifestyle. Athletes, because it's a sport, you have to do a lot of research and development, and how mostly, like we said, like educating the athlete is the most important thing, and educating the coaches. So I think they need international exposure. Most of the coaches need international exposure. So there are like very good coaches, very talented coaches who can perform really well, not just in weightlifting, other sports as well. So I'm representing Sri Lanka for 21 years now. So I have seen a lot of coaches like who are capable of doing amazing things, but they need the exposure and they need the scientific work as well. Like, so, like probably we can say that if someone else, I can do there's a lift I'm doing, we say Scott, there should be a path that you get the bar should move in one path. So if I want to check my path, then there's no way that you can do it in Sri Lanka. So there's a different thing called V-scope. So they check that and you tell you what is the bar path, which side you are aligning to more, which side is better, what muscles you'll be using. So if I'm going to talk about this, everyone will like have no clue in Sri Lanka.
Right. So now, what are the common misconceptions that people have when it comes to weightlifting?
Number one is that you won't get taller.
Right.
That's the number one that a lot of guys were telling me. Like when back in the day, my father has to go through a lot. Everyone was like, don't put him to lifting, he won't get taller. To be honest, clearing that myth, there's no such exercise or a medication that finds for getting taller or shorter. So there's nothing like that. So whoever gonna find it out, gonna get a big reward.
Definitely.
So it's all about marketing and the myths. And for the girls, as I said, everyone's gonna get muscle if you do heavy weightlifting. So these are the main myths that you have to go through. But to be honest, this is listed at top 5 dangerous sport in the world. So
That's
powerlifting is a danger. But if you don't know the techniques properly, you shouldn't be doing that. So first, number one is the safety. So IPF, International Powerlifting Federation, they have come up with certain guidelines for the equipment. So we can't wear the normal regular gym belts and the knee sleeves, we can't wear that. So they have given a proper attire. So that's going to be costing around 250,000 for the whole attire. But it's going to keep you away from all the high risk injuries.
Now these international guidelines that come in from these federations that you just mentioned, who implements it in Sri Lanka? Is there a governing body?
Well, yeah, the Sri Lankan Powerlifting Federation is there, but they are affiliated to the IPF, International Powerlifting Federation. So there are small shortcomings because the economical wise, some can't, like the belt that we are wearing is going to cost you around 150,000. So the young athletes can't afford it. So they have given the chance to compete without that and use a regular belt, which is for 4,000, 5,000 rupees. But when you go internationally, when you step out of the country, there's no way that you can use those because they have at the beginning of the year, they always send us a list of the equipment, IPF approved equipment. So apart from those brands, we can't wear anything at the international stage, then it's going to cost you a lot.
You were mentioning that this is one of the top 5 dangerous sports in the world. What is your justification to this?
Well, even in Sri Lanka, like we have 2-3 athletes who has got paralyzed trying to do heavy squats, trying to do heavy deadlifts, especially the spine. This is directly going to affect you on your spine with the squats and heavy deadlifts. People sometimes they come and comment on my deadlift saying, why did you lift halfway and just drop it? But you have to go for a real deadlift and see, like in squat is the main event that you test your lower body strength, and the bench press is for the upper body strength, and deadlift is the whole body strength. That's how they have meant the powerlifting, and they take the total for the winner for the overall. But deadlift is my pet event, and that still it's like one of the most dangerous lifts that you have to do. You are doing that without a proper form, you should be doing deadlifts.
Another common conversation that we hear about, just if you could clear it out to people watching us today, we hear people saying powerlifting and there's also weightlifting. Yeah. These are two different things.
Two different. So
break it down for us, please.
Weightlifting is an Olympic sport. So there are 2 events, snatch and clean and jerk. So weightlifting is more basically based on speed, power, flexibility, strength is there. Strength is a key component, but basically you need a lot of flexibility as well and the speed as well. So that's why you see a lot of weightlifters are very ripped and they are very agile. So I used to be a weightlifter before doing powerlifting. I was a weightlifter. So powerlifting is all about strength. So there are no overhead lifts, and powerlifting is not yet. It's not an Olympic sport, but it's 2028. It should be there. Like it's already in the process. So by 2020 it will be an Olympic sport. And as I said, squat, bench, deadlifts the key problem, but it's basically about the strength. So you need very less speed and all the agility stuff. It's a strength sport.
Now, how do you balance the other aspects of your life when it comes to training, working, family, social life? How do you keep it all going together?
Well, that is the hardest part. Being honest, I neglect my family a lot, and especially the social life. And especially when you come closer to an event, I always keep everyone. Now sometimes on Friday nights I just switch off my phone and leave it, because I have a lot of friends. I have a very good social life. I have a lot of friends, so they always try to come and grab me out, go out, let's go, it's Saturday, it's there. So most of the times, when I was young, I used to switch off my life and pretend to be I'm sleeping. So they used to come to my place as well. So that's what, you have to be very target oriented. If you want to achieve big in sports, it should be a tunnel vision. So sometimes it's not very healthy for your family as well, but it's your commitment. So when when you get into a professional sport, a small emotion can mess you up for a big time. Or one sleepless night, one small mistake, one glass of alcohol can drag you back to 3-5 months. So you have to be very careful, and you have to be very disciplined and be very target oriented.
Which leads me to my next question. There comes in a lot of compromise, where to lose things to gain your target, to achieve your goal. Discipline again is key, integrity. How important is it to you? to maintain discipline in your life?
Well, discipline, I think discipline is the pillar of success. Like, if you are not disciplined, even not even sports and anything that, like any sort of, like we say, like your job, if you are not being punctual, if you are taking too many leaves, definitely it's going to cause you issues. Same in the sport, like if you are not being punctual, if you are not preparing your meal plans, if you are not preparing how you're going to do how you're going to do your training, what time you're going to be there. So that discipline should be there. But unfortunately, it's very tough in Sri Lanka. Like, you plan to go there by 6 o'clock, you get stuck in the traffic, you're going to go there by 7 o'clock. So that's going to be a bit tough. But and the discipline-wise, when you go abroad, like even when you, like what I try to do is, as I said, I'm going to represent 22 million Sri Lankans when I wear this. So I will make sure that I don't even leave a drop of a plaster on the place that I stay. So that I have seen, like most of the athletes who go abroad for competitions, sometimes when you have to walk in aisle, they just run around, and they just, when you go for a buffet, they just serve one like extreme food. So I think someone has to come there and explain these guys, because most of them, they are only concerned about their I'd say the tactical ones. Like the coach goes, he will say do this, do that, but ethics, there are ethics in the sports. So I think that plays a big role. So if you're not being ethical, like if you're not following those guidelines, I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be, your journey will be tough.
Now, whenever you practice, whenever you head into competitions and all of that, how do you analyze your performances, both successes and failures?
It depends on my preparation, as I said. So there are some days that I might have to carry an injury. So sometimes I go to the competition with the injury, because this is a sport that where the injuries are there, pains are there. Sometimes we always neglect most of the injuries. So I have a slip disc in my back, so I have to do my rehabilitation as well. So, but recent, probably last decade, I've been always improving on my deadlifts. So that's my pet event and that's my target. So what I measure is, I always take the world level. Asian, I am the champion for 6 times. I got the Asian gold medal. Commonwealth, I have won 3 times. So I think even this time the Commonwealth will be in South Africa. So I think I have a good chance of winning the gold medal. But to go to world level, even I think I have to put more effort and be more disciplined.
When you head into your pet event, what are the criteria they judge you on?
That's a deadlift.
On what basis do they grade you?
Deadlift is like the weight is lying on the floor, so you have to just lift it up, but you can't jerk it, you can't hitch the weight, and you have to come to upright position, and your shoulder should be locked, your hip should be locked, and your knee should be locked.
So just because you carry the weight, it doesn't mean...
No, okay. And you can't drop the weight. That's the main important part. Like, you lift it up, and when you load a heavy weight, it's not going to come up easy. Sometimes when you are dragging it up, your small nerves on your nose going to burst. You're going to bleed. Your small nerves on your eyes going to bleed. There are videos that I have posted on my social media. So it's not easy as that. So sometimes the weight takes good 20 to 15 seconds to come up. So you can hang into the weight. Sometimes your muscles can pop. So it's tougher than you see.
My goodness. Okay. So now nutrition also plays a huge role in this. There's another common conversation that we hear, and a misconception, correct me if I'm wrong there, that you need to eat more if you're a powerlifter. Is that true? Or a weightlifter?
No, it's not. Only thing is, your food quality should be there. Like, if you eat all the junk food, because I'm being a powerlifter, because powerlifting is not an excuse to be fat. Because I see that some guys, they keep on eating all this and gaining weight. Sometimes they can't even bend and tie up their shoelace. So now it used to be there in the world level as well. But now if you take a powerlifter, they are very agile, and they have a lot of flexibility. Even for us, we have different days of flexibility and mobility routines to do. Those days wasn't there. You just go there, do some few stretches and lift it up. But it's getting advanced day by day. So I think your food plays a big role in what you are, and especially, as I said, proteins, supplements, the amount of caffeines that you are taking, everything is lit, and your recovery plays a big role as well, because your muscles can be recovered. You can go to the pool, you can do ice bath, and your muscles can be recovered in different ways, but your central nervous system doesn't get required unless you have very deep sleep. So minimum of 7 to 8 hours sleep is a must.
Now, in terms of staying up to date on the new regulations, rules coming into the sport, how do you stay connected?
Basically online. So basically they always send us, but online, when I say that, when I tell to my federation that you have to get all the, they say that it's a prohibited substance that you are taking, they always keep on updating that. Sometimes they do it once a year, sometimes 6 months to 6 months they do that. So they're not gonna send you individual emails saying that this is update. So you have to always keep on touch with the IPF Federation. So it's always they keep on sending updating their newsletters on what's the changes, what are the approved stuff that you can take, what are the approved equipment that you can use. So that has to be done as well. There was a time that the Sri Lankan Federation gave me a visa letter in Sinhala. So that's how it is. So I always say my federation that you have to be connected with the emails and all. So unfortunately, it's not happening.
Now, we were also talking about, off air, the youth coming into the scene, and some of the biggest things you see are how they head into the sport and some of your concerns. Let's talk a little bit about that as well.
Well,
The younger generation coming in.
Yeah, actually, these days my inbox is filled with all the young generation. I want to start this, I want to start that, I want to start powerlifting, how can I get involved? But as I said, this is not a money-making game. That's number one. Anyone who wants to come to this game, and it's not about the fame. The time, the money and fame can lead you to a very bad destination. So any sportsman, if you are focused on making money on a sport, and if you're trying just to be famous through a sport, they can't go on a big journey. So I'm the national champion for 21 years now, and I have represented Sri Lanka for 21 years. So that consistency was there because I was not focusing on anything rather than putting the flag up and improving myself. So everything I do, it's all for the country. So I know that I'm a national athlete, so I know that I have to put this flag up. So that's my passion. So someone might just carry the flag and take a picture and try to be like, they might think that putting this picture can get the fame. So what I have to say is, if you are planning to do sport, either you should love the sport, you have to love the country, or you have to make your parents proud. You have to find a point that what keeps you in going, because this is a sport that sometimes your heart, like you're gonna go down like crazy. That sometimes, like when I get prepared for my events for probably 6-8 months, there are times that I couldn't go because sometimes I couldn't. For last Asian Championships, I was an Asian champion for 6 years, and 2023 I went to Hong Kong for the Asia Pacific Championship, which I spent around 800,000 and by my own money. And December I said I need sponsors and I need support to go this, but nobody came up to support me, so I just let go. So while my competition was happening, I was all replaced. I was watching it online, so it was very tough moment for me. So I just switched it off and I just walked out, because I knew that I went there, they only lifted 317 kilos. So 317 is like a very easy weight for me right now. Yeah.
Piece of cake for you, right?
Not so that, but definitely I could have done it if I go there.
Definitely. We are on the final lap and the final run for the show on this week's edition of the Spotlight. Ransilu, just before the break, we were having a conversation on the younger generation coming in. I just want to pop in another question or two regarding that. You started back in the 90s, the younger generation coming in, it's a different mindset that we see, the Gen Z, how we usually call it. There's a generational gap there, and there is sometimes conflict of interest. And a common question that a lot of people in this generation ask is, if we do this, what do we get out of this? What is the return benefit? What do you have to tell, what do you have to say about that, an answer to this?
As I said, probably you get the self-satisfaction. That's the main thing. So if you don't love the sport, you won't get it. So that's why I said, If you just looking at the fame and doing it, not. But eventually you will get the fame side. Like for me, at the very first interview of me, I was like panicking. Now, though I can talk like this now, I was panicking. But with the time, everything will, like, gradually you will get it, fame and everything, but you don't get it overnight. Like, people will start talking to you, they will respect you, but it's a long journey ahead. Like, for anyone, when I started this sport, like, no one gave a damn. Like, they were like, okay, don't do this sport, what's the use of it? Even my own, like, relations, they were like, you're gonna mess up your studies, don't be too committed to the sport. But luckily, nowadays, everyone who is doing sport, they get a chance. And but the other part, the negative part is everyone, like, for all these 20 years, if I take the first decade of my sporting career, I might have taken probably only 20 pictures. And I still regret I don't have much of pictures of my younger days and small days that I was doing powerlifting. But nowadays it's all about social media, who, like, a guy just do their workout. Next moment, before even he go for the next step, he just upload it on the social media. So I see a lot of athletes nowadays get distracted by the fame. That's number one. Like, they want everything by overnight. Like, the love and the blessing that I have, I don't call it a fame. So they want it overnight. So they just do 2-3 events. They come to a national level and they just try to do the things that we do not like. It's good that they can do that, but I love if they are taking the good part. Like, you take international rugby teams, like we say New Zealand rugby teams, they look at their tattoos, they look at their hair, that they don't see the ethics that they do, they don't see the discipline, that the commitment that they do. So when you look at a person, that's, if you do a sport, you always have to look at the better side of the sport, like not their fashion or what he's driving or how many restaurants he owns. So that's what we talk about the sportsman in Sri Lanka. But if I see a sportsperson, I always check out, like, I'll take Ronaldinho. I was checking out how his biography, what time he trains, how much commitment, like how many meals that he's taking. So this has to go to youngsters' mind. If you want to improve in a sport, that's the key.
That's the key. Another recurrent hot topic, hot conversation that always catches our ears, always making headlines in news, is especially the use of doping, steroids, all things in that field. And this is a bit of an issue that we see when it comes to any sport. But I think it might be quite more stronger or more prevalent in your arena of discipline. What are your thoughts on this as an international competitor?
Well, the sad point is it's freely available in Sri Lanka. That's the very sad point. I don't know how it is. And we have anti-doping agents in Sri Lanka, and we have SLADA, Sri Lankan Anti-Doping Agency as well, and it's affiliated to WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency. So now most of the gyms, they always sell steroids, like, because now the supplement price has gone up. If, say, the protein bucket is around 25,000, you can buy steroid that bulk up is for like good 5,000, 6,000 rupees. And recently I saw that the police were, like, getting involved with all that. But this harm is critical than we think. The side effects that we get, depression, aggression, everything comes up with them, especially when you take steroid. Most of that is not the real person that you see. Like, we take most of the bodybuilders. When I met Ronnie Coleman this year at the Arnold, like, he was 8-time Mr. Olympia, so he comes in a wheelchair. So that's one of the greatest example that you can see, because in bodybuilding you can freely take steroids, and strongman events you can freely take steroids. But I think on the long run you can just be a king for like 2-3 days, and rest of the life you're going to suffer a lot. So I think the authorities should take action, because especially the youngsters, they've been influenced, especially the school kids being influenced to take this. The gym instructors, first day they give the schedule, next day he comes up with, you're not gonna gain weight, so start taking this. But so even supplements, I think you have to come to a certain level of like regular people. I really don't recommend supplements to take, but they can rely on the proper food. Still we have in Sri Lanka, like, still we can have a proper meal in Sri Lanka with protein, the amount that we are spending on all these supplements. Recently, I listened to Arnold at the runner speech, so we have vitamin C 500, the tablet. So to get that vitamin C from an orange, you have to eat like 20 oranges. So it's not like, that's why it's me and you, it's not eating 20 oranges like it's an impossible task for anyone. But he says if you eat 5 oranges, what you get is more than the tablet that you take. So this is said by all the professionals. So I always push for the natural food. But if you are a professional athlete, definitely you have to take supplements. But steroids, it's definitely it's a must
Quite
stop.
a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, my worry is why this is freely available and still they are marketing on social media with sponsored advertisements. You still can just buy your own, and sometimes they deliver it as well, it seems. So this has to be stopped because most of the younger generation, they just hype with the weight and they just go with the flow. They don't know the side effects. Like for sports, they always conduct all these seminars. These are the side effects that you're going to get, and this will be your future. But this younger generation who's just going to a gym, they don't have a clue. Their main person is their gym instructor. So that guy is just qualified with a YouTube video or something, and he just do his business.
All right, so time is catching up, and just before we close, I would like to invite you to give some words of wisdom to anyone watching us today. Anything you want to say?
Main thing is there will be time that you have to say, like as I said, gradually you will get everything, and make sure your biggest fear is your strength as well. Like I have a problem with the cameras, talking to interviews like that, and given speeches like. I have gone muted in front of my classroom. I was like that, but now I go and do motivational speeches for cooperative. And so, as a sport, I think you have to develop a career as well. So you have to do studies, and you can't be unless you do some sports in Sri Lanka, you can't be a professional in Sri Lanka. So you always have to do, who was in powerlifting or a weightlifting or a strength pro or any other sport, I have to say that build up your career along with the sport. So the sport is a time that you can perform. After that, sometimes you want to get to hear about that. So main thing is that. And about Sri Lanka, I have to say that I am blessed to be in this country, and I get a lot of love and blessings these days. So that's what I've been working for. The blessings that I get, most of the time before I go to a lift, I always read those messages. Some are like, it emotionally drives me up to a different level of sports. So that's what I have to say. So I have to say we are a nation that who overcome tsunami, and we are a nation that who overcome all the crises. So we have good guts, but sometimes we are a bit lazy. We have a lot of holidays in our calendars, but if we put our mind and soul, definitely we can do better in the future, and it's going to be a lovely country.
All right, thank you very much, and wishing you nothing but the best, and thank you for taking the time to join us today and have this conversation.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much.
All right, join us again next Monday, same time, same place, for a story that will ignite change. Until then, have a pleasant night and be safe.